So welcome everyone once again. My name is Uzi Alewi. I'm one of the teachers at Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, BINAH. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for life, food, clothing, and shelter. We're going to start this all over again. And hopefully that the Most High God be with us all, guide and protect us, even through this time. Thankful to the Most High God for my life, the life of all my loved ones, the life of my family, the life of all my Yeladim. I bid to y'all in the tongue of our ancient forefathers. Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Erev Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. And may the Most High God continue to be with you all and protect you and bless you. I'm thankful to the Creator for my life. I'm thankful to the Creator for knowledge of self, for understanding that during these times, during these seasons, that our people are so into and are celebrating, that our forefathers did not celebrate, that we are a people that are aware of our surroundings and the things that are around us and understand that these are nothing but pagan days. The time that the people just celebrated this past Tuesday was the day that we call, or that's called Christmas. And now many people began to call it Xmas because they said it's not the day of Christ, or the so-called Christ from the New Testament, Jesus. They don't know when he was born. They don't understand the day that he was born. You know, the New Testament doesn't point that out, but his birth comes from Roman tradition or from Roman paganism. During this season, the winter solstice, the Roman will worship the sun, or the renewing of the sun's strength on the earth, being that during this time of the year, it's when the daylight will be the daylight will increase more and more and more all the way until the summer solstice, right? So they looked at it as the sun renewing its strength, and the Romans will worship the sun during this time of the year. So Emperor Constantine, switching his religion from paganism to Christianity, he determined that in order to draw in more pagans into Christianity, he just switched the day of the worship of the sun, or the season of the worship of the sun, and said that this was the day of the rising, or the sun being born. This being going from paganism, the physical sun, regaining more time during the day, now is the day of the sun, or the Christ being born. And they just replaced the pagan custom and put it into the Christian custom, and that's how we get December 25th being the date of the birth of Jesus. But nowhere in the New Testament is it shown that Jesus was born on this day. So that's just for you to research, for you to see. You're not going to find that anywhere. So today we fall into that custom and into those traditions, and we celebrate it because we know no better. Our people fell into captivity, and the slave master gave us his way of thinking, gave us his way of living. And those are the things that we need to look into. All right, so we need to look into those things, and we need to understand what is it that's going on. The Christmas tree, or the Yule log. The Christmas tree was a tradition in even in those ancient times, where certain people will bring the evergreen into their homes, right? They were called evergreens because they stayed green no matter what time of the year it was. They will survive the winter and will still stay green. So people in ancient times believed that this tree had magical powers and that it would ward off evil, because it didn't die with like other trees during the winter time, or what they perceive were dead, or trees going dormant, because the trees don't truly die. The trees go dormant during the winter. And but a lot of these ancient societies taught that because this tree did not quote unquote die during the winter time or during the winter season, that they possess magical powers. So they will bring them into their homes and put them as decorations to ward off evil spirits, right? They'll put wreaths on their doors in order to stop evil spirits from coming into the homes, because these people were very superstitious. So this is where a lot of these traditions come from, and where a lot of these people way of thinking come from. So we have to be very aware of this. Now, the next celebration that's coming is New Year, right? And the New Year is what was given, or this New Year is what was given during the Roman time, right? And what happened with that is that back in ancient Rome, the New Year began in March, because March was when everything began to grow. You know, that was like the beginning of spring. So what we see is that the Romans initially only had, I believe, like 10 months, and they will begin their counts of their months. Ancient Rome, they will begin their count of their months in March, right? March being the first day of the first month of the year, and when they began to come up with these name for these months, they had named some months after some gods. Some months were named after some emperors, and some months are just simply the name of or numbers, right, to each one of these months. So all these things were things that were happening during these times, and where like change of time and seasons and things of this nature will begin to happen. But we also have our own calendar. This is why it's important for people to have their own calendar, because when you have your own calendar, you understand this calendar has been coming with us from time immemorial, and how we know how to tell times and seasons and stuff and things of this nature, because we have to keep track of our holy days and our holy seasons, right? So when we look at the Gregorian calendar, we see the existence of it. I'm going to go over some of the things that we see from the Gregorian calendar. Yeah, December was the 10th month. Yeah, they were added later in time, because when the Romans went to a 12-month system, then certain months like September, right? September originally was the 7th month. Septum was the way that you said 7 in the Roman alphabet, but today is the 9th month in the Gregorian calendar, right? October, right? October, you could, if you know Spanish, right? Would have been the eighth month, right? October, in Spanish, to say eighth, you say octavo, right? So I could pick up on what is being said. October used to be the 8th month. Today, October is the 10th month, right? And when you get to November, like nueve, that's how you say 9 in Spanish, right? But today, November is the 11th month in the Gregorian calendar. So certain months kept their names, although they didn't signify what they originally signified, and that's how we get a lot of the things that we saw. I'm going to go over. I have a slideshow. I believe I showed this before, but for the new people that might not know, for all of you that are commenting on the Zion Lex thing, we're going to have a discussion on that on Yom Rishon on Sunday on my Uzi Alawi channel. I'm going to interview him live so that everybody will be able to ask your questions and see exactly what is it that he's speaking about. I'm not discussing that tonight, so that'll be for that day. You could ask all your questions then. You could inbox me on my Facebook Messenger. You know, Uzi Alawi. You can leave your questions there, and we'll talk about that. But tonight we're going to go over the calendar and why it's important for us to have our own calendar with our own names on it and so forth and so on. All right, so there we go. Let me see. I have to look into some things first. Let me open up this. Open up my cell phone. Make sure that everything is straight. And make sure that I'm seeing everything straight. Give me a second here. And make sure. Give me one little second here. Okay. Give me a second here. Shabbat Shalom, my brother, Abdiel, Chief Abdiel. One little second. All right, here we go. So we're going to go into these months. So in the Gregorian calendar, and then from there we're going to go into, I'm going to tell you our calendar and how our calendar goes. All right. Hopefully you can see that. Let me know if you can see what I'm showing on the screen. Let me know if you can see what I'm showing on the screen at this moment. And I'm going to check it on the text. I'm looking on my phone. I know it's on a little delay, but I'm looking on my phone to make sure that everything is straight and that you can see it straight. Okay. I see it there. All right, that's great. So here we go. All right, you can still hear me, right? Hopefully you can still hear me. Great. So right here, what are we seeing here first? So the first month in the the first month of the year in the Gregorian calendar after the reform was made, and we're going to get to that a little bit later when we read, is the god Janus, right? That's where the name January comes from. And just want y'all to excuse me, I got a cold, so if you hear me in the back blowing my nose or anything, it's because I have a head cold. So just bear with me tonight as I'm braving through these conditions. So why does Janus have two faces, right? And we're going to explain why in the what we have down here. January is named after the Roman god Janus. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, doorways, passages, and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces since he looks to the future and to the past. So the reason why they use the god Janus as the beginning of the year or the beginning of the calendar is because he sees the past, meaning the past year that has gone past, and he's seeing the future, the year to come. This is why the Romans use January as the first month of the year. Understand? When we look at most ancient societies began their new year during the spring season. Thus, the Romans did that also. Eventually, they began to observe their new year during the dead of the winter. That's a little research for a little bit later as to why they did that. But they began to observe their New Year's in the dead of the winter. So this was something that they began to do. But our New Year, the Israelites' New Year, begins in Abib, right? So this is what they and that's what the Most High God said. This should be the beginning of months unto you. So just showing you where the origins of these names come from and what they're based upon and what exactly is the tradition of these people and what is it that they do. Let's go to the next month. The next month that we know as February, right? February. So now excuse the red marks underneath here because I didn't spell check these things and made them into whatever. So you might see quite a few of these things, but never mind that. The Roman month Februarius was named after the Latin term februm, which means purification, via the purification ritual Februa, held on February 15th, full moon, in the old lunar Roman calendar. A Roman month Februarius of Februa, whence the English February derives, is named for the Februaccio festival, which occurred on the 13th to 15th days of this Roman month. A latter Roman god, Februus, personified both the month and also purification, and is named for them. Thus, the month is named for the festival and not for the god. So we see that this name comes from a festival that was held on February 15th, from February 13th to the 15th during the ancient Rome, right? In the old lunar Roman calendar, but it is also says a later Roman god, Februus, personified both the month and also purification. It is named for them. Thus, the month is named for the festival and not for the god. So, the name of the month is named for the festival, not for the god. The god came after, right? Or what was given or what was attributed to the god came after. So, this is important to know. Right? These are little intricacies that we see and that we get to understand. So February comes from a festival that in ancient Rome they used to celebrate from the 13th to the 15th, right? Purification, purifying yourself and so forth. So not much different than during the Lent period, which is also in February, right, where Christians abstain from eating meat and abstain from doing certain things on what they call Fat Tuesday, what we know as Fat Tuesday, carnival season in many parts of the Caribbean islands and in Central America, and then the day after is Ash Wednesday, and for 40 days in Catholic tradition, for 40 days you go through the Lent period, and on Good Friday or the Sunday before Good Friday is when the Lent period, or on Palm Sunday I believe, is when the Lent period ends, and then you go back to eating meat or doing whatever it is that you do, or on Good Friday. I'm confused about it right now. I gotta get my stuff sharpened up as to when the Lent period ends. So it's probably where Christianity get the whole concept of Good Friday and the Lent period and all this, because the period of Lent is also a period of purification in the Roman Catholic Church as to what people do and how people conduct themselves and the things that they carry on doing. So are y'all still with me? Y'all understanding what I'm saying? Just trying to bring you some knowledge of things that you might have not known, where the origins of some of these things come from and why it's so important for us to have our own. All right? So hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. So here we go. Now somebody asked if there was only originally 10 months, did each month have more than 31 days? And was there a longer 24-hour period? That's a good question, and that's something that I need to research, right? Research more into and understand what is it that they did. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think every month had 31 days, but I think it was more of something like at the end of what they consider the end of the year, which would have been October, when it began to get cold, they just looked at it as somewhat of a dead period. I could be mistaken, but that's what it comes across as. Like they might have looked at it like as a dead period. Like it didn't make any sense to count. Now they had to keep track of things because they had to know when this month came about, because this was the beginning originally of months for them. March, what we have up here. So the origins of the name March and what they put as the third month in the Gregorian calendar, the name of March comes from the Latin Martius, the first month of the earliest Roman calendar. It was named for Mars, the Roman god of war, who was also regarded as a guardian of agriculture and an ancestor of the Roman people through his sons Romulus and Remus, right? So it is believed that the Roman people come from Mars, right? Through his son Romulus and Remus, but we know this is mythology. This is what people come up with. These are myths that people come up with, and we just have to be aware of that this is mythology, right? This is Roman mythology. His month, Martius, was the beginning of the season for both farming and warfare. Why was it the beginning of the season for farming? Is because it's the time when things began to bud forth, and for warfare because the treachery of the winter was already past them. If they had snow on the ground or whatever, this stuff will begin to melt, and this is when kings or emperors will begin to make their campaigns against other nations, because you didn't want to be warring during the winter time. It was just asinine. When Napoleon Bonaparte tried to go into Russia. He tried to go in the dead of the winter, and he couldn't even get across to Russia because he lost like half of his troops that was dying of starvation and stuff. So a lot of times wars are not made in the winter because of these of the conditions that you would have to endure in the winter in order to fight a war, right? Today there's a lot more technology. Back then there wasn't that much technology. It was just manpower, animal power, and that's what it was. So it says here, his month, Martius, was the beginning of his season for both farming and warfare, and the festivals held in his honor during the month were mirrored by others in October, when the season for these activities came to a close, right? Like I said, October was the 10th month, and that was the ending of the year when they just had a 10-month calendar system. Martius remained the first month of the Roman calendar year, perhaps as late as 153 BCE, right? So it was the first month as late as 153 BCE, and several religious observances in the first half of the month were originally New Year's celebrations. Even in late antiquity, Roman mosaics picturing the month sometimes still placed March 1st. So in some mosaic, where they got these pictures or whatever, they still place March as the first month of the year in the Roman calendar. So we understand that the name March comes from the god Mars, is the god of agriculture and of war, right? Farming and of warfare, and the Roman pantheon of gods. So there's good knowledge to have, understanding things that we could become familiar with, so that we don't be out of the loop. I think it's important for us, and some of you might not see it, or this might be like boring stuff to you, or you might know it already, but this is for the new people. So hopefully everyone is still with me. Everyone is still understanding what I'm trying to bring forth. So this is just information for us to be aware, and for us to understand what it is that's happening around us. So the next month is April. So I have two statues here, one of Venus, one of Aphrodite, right? So, and I'll explain it why. The Romans gave this month the Latin name Aprilis, but the derivation the Romans gave this month the Latin name Aprilis, but the derivation of this name is uncertain. The traditional etymology is from the verb aperire, to open, right? And an allusion of its being the season when trees and flowers begin to open, which is supported by a comparison with the modern Greek use of anixi, opening for spring. Since some of the Roman months were named in honor of divinities, and as April was sacred to the goddess Venus, right? Her Veneralia being held on the first day, it has been suggested that Aprilis was originally her month, Aprilis, from her equivalent Greek goddess name, Aphrodite, Aphros, or from the Etruscan name Apru. So Venus is the counterpart of Aphrodite, because remember, Greek culture, Roman culture stole a lot from the Greeks. So a lot of their gods are similar, or their gods are similar, but they have different names, right? So We got Aphrodite in Greek, and in Rome, her counterpart will be Venus. In Greece, you have Nike, the goddess of victory. In Roman, you have Victoria. She's called Victoria, I believe, right? Or Victoria, she's called, right? Goddess of victory, right? So these are all the different things that we have to remember. You know, it's good sometimes to study outside of the realm of just what we know as you advance, so that you will have understanding of certain things. So they're saying that most likely the April, although they don't really have a significant understanding of where it really came from, but they say it sounds like they might have gotten it from Aphrodite, right? The Romans might have gotten it from Aphrodite, which was the counterpart of Venus, which was the goddess of fertility in Roman culture. She was also the goddess of fertility in Greek culture. And we could go back to Astarte and to all these other gods, you know, in the Egyptian times and Babylonian times, and who were the different goddesses of fertility, and Isis and all these different goddesses, right? So these are the things that we have to keep in mind. I hope that y'all are still with me. I hope that you get an understanding for what I'm saying. Let's see here. May. The month May was named for the Greek goddess Maya, who was identified with the Roman era goddess of fertility, BINAH, whose festival was held in May. So the month was named for the Greek goddess Maya, thus the name May, who was identified with the Roman era goddess of fertility, BINAH, whose festival was held in May. So that's where we get the month May from. That's simple explanation. Now we go to June. The Latin name for June is Junius. Ovid offers multiple etymologies for the name in the Fasti, a poem about the Roman calendar. The first is that the month is named after the Roman goddess Juno, the goddess of marriage and the wife of the supreme deity Jupiter. The second is that the name comes from the Latin word juniores, meaning younger ones, as opposed to maiores, elders, for which the preceding month Maius may be named. So we get into differing things here, but this is not certain, right? There's a couple of etymologies or beliefs to where the name for the month June come from. In ancient Rome, the period from mid-May through mid-June was considered inauspicious for marriage. Ovid says that he consulted the Flaminica Dialis, the high priestess of Jupiter, about setting a date for his daughter's wedding, and was advised to wait till after June 15th. Plutarch, however, implies that the entire month of June was more favorable for weddings than May. So here we have, some conflicting accounts. As to some people said that June was the ideal month to get married, and some people said that certain parts of June was taboo in certain parts of May to be married, that it was favorable to be married after June 15th. So as we see here, they said that June come from the goddess of marriage, the wife of supreme deity Jupiter. right? So, as we see that June come from Juno, the Roman goddess, right? As you can see the similarities in the name. So now, July, which is the 7th month of the Gregorian calendar, right? July is the 7th month of the year between June and August. And the Julian Gregorian calendars and the 4th month to have the length of 31 days. It was named by the Roman Senate in honor of the Roman general Julius Caesar, it being the month of his birth. Prior to that, it was called Quintilius, right? So July is named after Julius Caesar, emperor, a Roman emperor, right? Prior to that, it was called Quintilius. And why was it called Quintilius? Because that would have been the 5th month. Remember, I told you at the beginning, the Romans, in the ancient calendar, they only had 10 months. Started from March, April, May, June, July. July would have been the 5th month, right? Quintilius, like I know Spanish, so if I want to say 5th, I would say quinto. Quintilius, I could kind of figure it out because it's Latin, and you could kind of make out some words. So it makes sense to me. To you that don't know Spanish or don't understand Latin or any of the Romance languages, it might be foreign to you. But to me, it makes sense, right? It makes a lot of sense to me. So here we go. The next month is August. And now we start to get into more. The names of the months are beginning to be man and numbers and things of this nature. This month was originally named Sextilis in Latin because it was the 6th month in the original 10-month Roman calendar under Romulus in 753 BCE. So this was originally the 6th month and it was called Sextilis, right? Which is 6. We could see it in when we say sixth, right? And in Spanish, if we want to say 6, we would say sexto, right? So be the 6th month. When March was the 1st month of the year, about 700 BC, it became the 8th month when January and February were added to the year before March by King Numa Pompilius, who also gave it 29 days. Julius Caesar added 2 days when he created the Julian calendar in 45 BCE, giving it its modern length of 31 days. In 8 BCE, it was renamed in honor of Augustus, according to the Senatus Consultum, decree of the Senate. Quoted by Microbius, he chose this month because it was the time of several of his great triumphs, including the conquest of Egypt. So the month basically was named after Caesar Augustus, an emperor in Rome. All right? That's what it was named after. Just a little history lesson today. September. September is the 9th month of the year in the Julian and Gregorian calendars, and the 3rd month to have the length of 30 days. It is also the month with the longest name, September. September, Roman month from Latin septem, 7, right? So you can see it there, right? Septum. In Spanish, you would say septimo. Was originally the 7th of 10 months on the oldest known Roman calendar, with March, Latin Martius, the 1st month of the year until perhaps as late as 153 BCE. After the calendar reform that added January and February to the beginning of the year, September became the 9th month but retained its name. It had 29 days until the Julian reform, which added a day. So this is what we see. Right? These are where these months get their names. So now we have here October. October is the 10th month of the year in the Julian and Gregorian calendars, and the 6th month to have the length of 31 days. The 8th month in the old Roman calendar, October retained this name from the Latin octo, meaning eighth. After January, and in Spanish you will say octavo, right, for eighth. After January and February were inserted into the calendar that had originally been created by the Romans. In ancient Rome, one of three mundus patet would take place on October 5th. Meditrinalia, October 11th. Augustalia on October 12th. October horse on October 15th. And Armilustrium on October 19th. These days do not correspond to the modern Gregorian calendar. Among the Anglo-Saxons, it was known as Winterfillet, because at this full moon, fillet, winter, was supposed to begin. So later in history, by the Anglo-Saxons, was known as Winterfillet. This was originally the last month of the year. They believed that everything died out, during this time of the year. So this was considered the ending of the year until some reforms were made. And probably because, people had astronomers, people that knew the motions of the sun. And you see all the stuff that moves around and all the things that are happening. And what happens is that they have to figure out, like, there's, we have to add 2 more months to the year and make some adjustments, because if not, here's what happened. This is what's going to happen. Everything is out of sync. But they kind of caught back up, but it was just like an empty period at the end of the year. That's what I imagine, because they knew when the beginning of the year was, but they just didn't count 2 more months, or however October went, or if October was just a long period of dead time. I don't know exactly how they did it, but that's just how they did it. When the winter months came, it was just like a dead period. That's what it seems like. So the Roman calendar, or the Gregorian calendar, is based on the solar system, right? Our calendar is based on the lunar system. Adjustments have to be made with our calendar, because or else our seasons will come out of whack, right? Abib always has to be in the springtime, because certain crops have to be grown for us to bring to offer up. So we have to, we have to, the Most High say He gave us the sun and the moon, the stars, for times, for seasons, and for years. So we make adjustments according to how they move, right? Although we have a lunar calendar, sometimes, the moon, revolves around the earth in about 29.5 days. So we have to make adjustments as with the sun, because the sun is going at a little different rate, right? So we have to make adjustments. That's why we have leap years sometimes. We have certain things that's going on. These are all the different little things, that nuances that happen, but we could lock everything in by making adjustments and understand that this is okay, because the Most High told us to use the sun, moon, and stars for times, for season, and for days, to tell months, and to have all these things going on. So November is the 11th and penultimate month of the year, meaning the next to last month, right? And once again, the only reason why I know that word is that's how you say next to last in Spanish, almost, penúltimo, right? So I could figure out words because of the Spanish that I know. November is the 11th and penultimate month of the year in the Julian Gregorian calendars, and the 4th and last month to have the length of 30 days. November was the 9th month of the ancient Roman calendar. November retained its name from the Latin novum, meaning 9. When January and February was, so in Spanish you would say 9th noveno, right? So I could kind of figure these things, these names, these ancient Latin names, when January and February were added to the Roman calendar. So once January and February were added to the Roman calendar, November now became the 11th month, but the name remained because originally it was the 9th month on the ancient Roman calendar. All right? Important to know. December. December is the 12th and last month of the year in the Julian and Gregorian calendars. It is the 7th and last month to have the length of 31 days. December, from the tres riches héroes de Berry. December got its name from the Latin word decim, meaning 10. Because it was originally the 10th month of the year in the Roman calendar, which began in March. The winter days following December were not included as part of any month, right? Later, the months of January and February were created out of the monthless period and added to the beginning of the calendar, but December retained its name. So you see, there goes the answer. After October, it was just a dead period. It says here, the winter days following December were not included as part of any month. Later, the months of January and February were created out of monthless period. So when we got to December, which would be the time of October right now, which is the 10th month. I think I kind of confused it a little bit earlier, but December will be the last month, right? Which will be during the period of time that we know as October today. Period of time after that, they would just be looked at as a dead period, right? They were not included as part of any months. It's just a dead period. In ancient Rome, one of the four agonalia, this day is Anna Sol Indigus, was held on December 11th, as was Septimontium. Dies Natalis was held on the temple of Tellus on December 13th. Consualia was held on December 15th. Saturnalia was held on December 17th to 23rd. Opiconcivia held on December 19th. Devalia on December 21st. Larentalia on December 23rd. And the Dies Natalis of Sol Invictus was held on December 25th. These days do not correspond to the modern Gregorian calendar. So, and that's where the Dies Natalis of Sol Invictus, the day of the conquering sun. That's where the whole, and during the whole winter solstice, this is around the winter solstice, that's where the whole concept of Jesus being born on December 25th came from, because they believe that this was the day of or this was the time of the season when the sun renewed its strength. Because remember, when the winter solstice come, which is December 21st, right? And that's why I said during that season, December 21st, you have about 3 to 4 days that remain the same, meaning that they have the same length of day. They stay at the same strength, right? And then when you get to like December 24th, 25th, then the days begin to get longer by a minute every day. If you check even on, if you go on Google and you see what time the sun went down today, and what time it goes down tomorrow, and what time it begins to go down, every day of the week next week, it will add a minute to every day. It will add a minute to every day from now on. So the days will begin to be longer and longer and longer and longer. This is what will begin to happen. This is what will begin to happen. So hopefully you got something out of that. I know that this is an old lesson to many of you. It's okay. Sometimes we have to refresh the lessons. Hopefully you got something out of the lesson. And it's about edification. It's about edification. So So now, I got a Hebrew calendar here, right? This is a Hebrew calendar that a brother by the name of, I'll just leave his name because he doesn't like to be mentioned. But this is a good brother who makes these calendars. So now, right here, this is the beginning of our months, Abib. Aviv, you see it at the top? It's in Hebrew. Aviv, which usually comes in sometimes at the end of March, sometimes the beginning of April. So here we got Aviv. This is in the Hebrew calendar. This is the first month, Aviv. Okay? So now, when you get a calendar from in the like, you go to like a Jewish store or something like that, the first month of the year will say Nisan, right? But the Most High God told us to call it Aviv, right? So we have a brother that create calendars, and you have certain names that were adopted through when we came out of Babylon, some of the names. So we try to change them back to the original Hebrew names that were called in the Tanakh. Of course, we don't have names for some of them. Some of them we don't have names for that we didn't find. But Abi, we know, because the Most High said that it should be the beginning of months unto you. So this is Aviv. So the next month here is Zwiv, right? Zwiv. That's the second month in the Hebrew calendar. Zwiv. The third month in the Hebrew calendar is Siwan. Siwan. That's the third month. Maybe I should upload these and do a slideshow with these. The fourth month in the Hebrew calendar is Zoker. 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 What's this? The sixth month. Sixth month in the Hebrew calendar. Now, this is obviously an old calendar. It said 5776. Right now, we're at 5779. So, it's Av. It's Av. That's the sixth month. Now the 7th month on the Hebrew calendar is Elul. Elul. I want to make sure I got it right. I said this is the 7th month, right? So just make sure. You see 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this is the 5th month. How did I get to 7? Give me a second here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th. Elul is the 6th month in the Hebrew calendar. It's the 6th month. Elul. Etanim, which the Jewish man calls Tishri, right? But Etanim, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Shemini Atzeret come in this month. We don't call it Tishri, but we call it Etanim. That's what it's called in the Tanakh. Actually, with this calendar, the brother, he doesn't want money for it. He kind of just makes it, and he makes like a certain amount. For years, I've been trying to duplicate it the same way he's been making it, but whenever you go to the printer to try to make calendars, they try to charge you an arm and a leg. So he doesn't mind if we duplicate them exactly the way he made them. He doesn't mind that. The problem is trying to make those calendars. You know, it's very expensive. So I don't know how we could make it happen. I tried before and it was just too expensive. So I'm gonna see again this year, look into it and see how we could make it happen. The next month is Bull. That's the 8th month of the Hebrew calendar. The 9th month of the Hebrew calendar is Kislev. Kislev. The 10th month of the Hebrew calendar is the month that we're in right now. Tevet. Tevet. That's the month we're into right now. The next month in the Hebrew calendar is, or the 11th month is Shabbat. Shabbat. The 12th month in the Hebrew calendar is Adar. 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 So usually we have 12 months in the Hebrew calendar. But some years you have to make an adjustment because I told you sometimes it goes off sync from the lunar and the solar calendar. And in order for us to stay in sync with the seasons and the times, for Abib to always come and Abib and during the springtime and stuff like that, sometimes we have to add a second Adar. And this year, 57, 76 was one of the years where a second Adar had to be added to the calendar. Our forefathers been making these adjustments for years. So that's, excuse me, that's the Hebrew calendar. So hopefully you got something out of it and you got some understanding from that. I am glad that everybody tune in tonight. I'm a bit under the weather, so I can't stay around tonight, and I'll be sneezing, and I've already been blowing my nose and all that stuff. So hopefully you got something out of the day, out of this evening. Don't forget that we will be on tomorrow, 11 a.m. on this same channel, the D.C.B channel. Also, for all of you that would like to who would like, because I've seen that a lot of people at the beginning was asking me about the whole Zion Lex interview. Just go to my channel right now, Uziel Lewy. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, right? If you're interested in watching that discussion that I'm going to have with my brother Abdiel, aka Zion Lex. Y'all know him mostly as Zion Lex. But Chief Abdiel, you go to my Uziel Lewy channel, or you could type in my Ozia on the YouTube search, and that Uziel Lewy channel will pop up also. So go to it right now, subscribe to it, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and then that way, when we do the live stream, you will know exactly that we're on. All right, we use Zokair instead of Tammuz because Tammuz was the name of a god, right? He was the name of a god, and we try to stay away from the usage of the name of different gods, right? So, and Tammuz, also known as Dumuzi, was the name of an ancient Near Eastern deity who was best known for his patronage of herdsmen and his romantic entanglement with Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of sexual love, also known as Astarte or Ishtar. So that's why we don't use the Tammuz. All right? Hopefully that explanation was good. Good night, Ima Habared, and good to see you. Tell Adon Zamir that I said shalom. Yes, black seed oil. Got you. So, Shabbat shalom to all. May the Most High God bless you all. Don't forget to go to the Uziel Lewy channel. And we also have a backup channel for D.C.B. And I believe I need to start, I'm going to start giving that information out, and I'm going to start uploading content to that channel because sometimes YouTube be on some mess. Like, you know, for a while, they've had us like in limbo with the super chat. Many of you used to donate to us via super chat, and what happened is that they eliminated that from us. So I'm going to go to the a lot of you felt comfortable that way donating to us Akare Shabbat. So I'm going to start promoting that channel, the D.C.B channel. I forgot what it's called. I gotta look for it. Have y'all go there. I'm gonna upload some content. Have y'all go there, like it, subscribe to it. You know, notifications, the whole nine, just in case, you know, YouTube decide to do something with this channel, because they shutting down a lot of people. They making their rounds. They don't want, you know, certain things, certain content. Our content is not. It's not crazy. We basically just bring information, and it's nothing like that's out of this world, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to do that. You can also subscribe to my Shalom, Shalom, Adon Zamin. Good seeing you. So thank you once again. I'm going to go to sleep now. Got to put away the food. And may the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom. Everyone have a blessed night. Hallelujah.